I didn't know you, then you'd know I'm here. You'd know I care. You'd know I hear you. Long to be near you. I'm already here. If I could let you see reality inside of me, those thoughts that are so familiar to me. If I could lead you there into my sphere so you could see what is me in my mind, then you wouldn't have to spin around as if you didn't know me. Then you'd know I'm here. You'd know I care. You'd know I hear you. Long to be near you. I'm already here. You see reality inside of me, those thoughts that are so familiar to me. If I could lead you there to my sphere so you could see what is me in my mind, then you wouldn't have to spin around as if you didn't know me. Then you'd know I'm here. You'd know I
die Türe. So. Good. So, esteemed attendees, a very warm welcome on behalf of Graz University of Technology to SUSA here in this lecture hall, as well as to those who joined us online. Today's lecture is a second of our series of ESEIA International Lectures on Sustainable Energy Innovation Systems for Climate Neutrality. This series tackles the challenges in achieving climate neutrality by 2050 according to the EU Green Deal. It aims a respectful and scientific-based dialogue Thus, international renowned ESEIA experts present possible solutions which are discussed by two representatives from industry and society. The audiences in Graz and online are invited to contribute their views, ask questions and make statements. I am happy that today participants from different parts of Europe and even from Africa, India and the United States joined us. A very warm welcome to you all at the online video screens. Since long, Graz University of Technology is committed to sustainability. It was founding member of building the European Sustainable Energy Innovation Alliance, ESEIA, and ESEIA grew into a stunning cooperation with 30 partners from research, education and business. Together we aim at tackling the energy topics for climate transformation from a systemic perspective. People from 11 ESEIA member organizations joined us today. Those are from the Energie Styrian Technology GmbH, the University of Graz, Vienna University of Technology, the Cyprus Institute, Dublin University of Technology, the Vilnius Technical University, the University of Twente, the Portuguese Energy Agency Ardenne, the National Laboratory of Energy and Geology, the Transylvanian University of Brasov, as well as Graz University of Technology. A warm welcome to everybody. At our university itself, we strive for climate neutrality until 2030. As a very first university in Austria, we designed a proper roadmap and committed for many million euros to set up a whole range of measures. This initiative already received national awards and is intended as a model for other institutions. Only recently, we became partner of the UNITE network of the European Universities Initiative. Together with well-known universities from 9 European countries, we will there create a new trans-European inter-university campus. This is to advance a digital and green Europe. Education and research to play an important role in achieving sustainable solutions. At Graz University of Technology, we combined our outstanding research areas of 5 fields of expertise. All of them are interdisciplinary. Our field of expertise, sustainable systems, involve researchers from all our 7 faculties and from half of our university institutes. Our researchers regularly hit the headlines, for example, by developing new solutions for zero-emission shipping, by expanding the use of wood even to car design or high-rise buildings, or by developing new batteries. This is only a few of these activities. Sustainability is a value we really live up to. Students will find a vast range of aspects in their study programs, respectively. They have also established a week full of events around this very topic each May. At this point, I would like to point out that we bear a long tradition in high-quality university education. Nikola Tesla counts among our most prominent students. On our large-scale Nikola Tesla Lab at the Institute of High Voltage Engineering and System Performance is named after him, and this is the building where now have this lecture. Future-oriented energy systems are among the key research areas within our fields of expertise, sustainable systems. Today we will discuss on how to repower Europe. Ensuring energy security on a European scale is a really pressing topic. Others are how to regulate energy demand, how to promote and give priority to renewables. This includes legal frameworks we need, create or adapt. I would like now to welcome our today's speakers. A warm welcome to Teresa Ponce de Leão and give her a big hand. Glad to have you here in Graz. She is ESEIA Vice President and President of the National Laboratory of Energy and Geology in Portugal. Since 2016, she also chairs the Board of Directors of the Portuguese Electric Vehicle Association. She has been a member of the Board of Directors of the Agency for Energy since 2019. She also chaired EuroGeo surveys from 2017 to 2019. Teresa Ponce de Leão has been teaching at the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering at the University of Porto since 1983. She has also been a collaborating researcher at the Institute of Systems and Computer Engineering, Technology and Science for 36 years. Teresa Ponce de Leão has so far published more than 80 articles in international scientific journals, and it's very great that they have time for us and come from Sharm el-Sheikh directly to Graz. A big hand again for Teresa. I also welcome the CEO of Energie Steiermark, Martin Graf. He has more than 25 years of experience in the energy industry. Martin Graf thus has a deep understanding of the current and future challenges of the industry by his management experience in technical and commercial functions. This includes the implementation of change processes in organizations as part of the energy transition. Martin Graf has experience and expertise in the regulation of energy networks and renewables energies, as well as the financing. That is green finance. Special knowledge in the areas of environment, social issues and governance, as well as diversity and inclusion round of his profile. A big hand to Martin. Thank you for coming to our university. A very warm welcome also to Karl-Heinz Kettl. He is head of the unit Energie at the Styrian Chamber of Labour. He was a team leader at the energy agency Styrian prior to his work at the chamber. Please close down, mute your microphones. He was a team leader at the energy agency Styria prior to his work at the chamber. He studied environmental sciences here not at our university, at University of Graz. And after receiving his PhD at our university, his research at TU Graz focused on ecological process evaluation, life cycle assessment, and process network synthesis. In addition, he earned his master degree on EU project and public management. A big hand to Mr. Kettl. And finally, I would like to welcome the chair of this event, Sonja Wogrin. Sonja Wogrin studied technical mathematics at our university and earned a master degree in science in computation for design and optimization of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. She received her PhD from the, and I hope I can speak it, Instituto de Investigación Tecnologia of the Universidad Pontificia Comillas. I hope it was not so bad. Where she also worked as a research associate and associate professor in the Industrial Organization Department. Since 2021, she was headed the Institute for Electricity, Economics and Energy Innovation at our university. Her research interests lie in the area of decision support systems for the energy sector, optimization, in particular the problem of generation capacity expansion. Before I hand over to Sonja, I would like to express my special thanks to Brigitte Hasewend. She is a driving force in and behind the ESEIA network and this lecture series. Thank you so much, Brigitte, and also a big hand for Brigitte and her team. So, And now, Sonja, I ask you to come out and to start the discussion and the presentation.
Thank you very much. Them at the same time. And I'm going to pick the electric power sector for several reasons, actually. Well, first, our dear Rector mentioned this already. We're hosted in the holy halls of the School of Electrical Engineering here. That's the first. The second is that I myself am a professor here at the School of Electrical Engineering, so I'm a little bit biased, I will have to admit, a priori. And third, and this is really the most important reason for me, is that I think that the electric power system itself is a technological masterpiece. So now there are going to come like 2 or 3 minutes of a declaration of love to electric power systems, and why I think they're the coolest thing that humankind ever invented. Okay, so for most of you that are sitting here in this lecture hall, and I know many of you, so I know that you know, or you're supposed to know this, but for those of you who are at home and who might not be experts in electric power systems, let me just quickly explain that electric energy is not like any other normal good. It's not like a pack of spaghetti that you buy. Because if you go to a supermarket and you buy a pack of spaghetti and you put it in a cupboard and you open the cupboard 1 year later, the pack of spaghetti is still going to be there and you're going to be able to cook it and it's going to work. And this is not the fact with electric energy. Because electric energy cannot be stored very efficiently. And since it can't be stored very efficiently, that means for the electric power system to work, you need to have an instantaneous, and I really mean instantaneous, balance of supply and demand. And that means, what is the demand? Us, this TV, these lights, that all needs electric energy to work. And what's the supply? The supply is generators that generate electric energy. So it means instantaneously, at every second, right now, there are generators that generate the exact same amount of electric energy that we're demanding in the system. So what would happen if you were to go and plug in your mobile phone right now? Then that would mean that the demand is going up by a little bit. So that means that somewhere in the beautiful country of Austria or neighboring countries, there needs to be a generator that comes up just a little bit in order to produce a little bit more so that your phone is actually charged. And this was in the past usually done by thermal generators, so very big power plants, coal or gas-fired power plants, that have very negative effects on the environment, we know, but they have a positive side, which is that they were at least dispatchable. And dispatchable means that if you wanted to ramp them up, you could just burn a little bit more coal or burn a little bit more gas, and then you could meet the new electricity demand. And now we're going into the direction of renewable energy systems. What does that mean? That means that we're replacing these thermal dispatchable power plants by renewable power plants, by renewable power sources like solar PV or wind, for example. So at this beautiful evening, where we don't have a lot of PV and solar radiation, what are we going to do if you want to plug in your phone? Who is going to produce more? Of course, you could open the door and scream out and say, please, wind, blow a little bit more. I need to charge my phone. But it doesn't work that way, right? And of course, in Austria, we're lucky because we have a lot of hydropower. But in the end, what this means is that we need storage technologies. We need some kind of big storage technologies that take superfluous renewable energy when we don't need it, store it, in order to give it back to us when we actually need it, maybe when the sun is not shining and the wind is not blowing. And that is just one of the very, very difficult challenges that we have to face. And that means that really going to decarbonized energy systems entails a lot of technical issues. So where are we going to get all of these areas that we need for solar PV from? That's a technical problem. What is going to happen to our networks if we plug in all of these decentralized renewable generators as opposed to the more centralized thermal generators that we could handle very well? What happens about investments? Are these investments going to be economic? Are people actually going to build this? Is this going to make sense? Are people going to be able to afford their electricity later on? So it's also an economic challenge about how do we organize markets around this? If variable costs of energy are going to go to zero, who is going to play in markets like this? And the third is a societal challenge, because I'm sure you have talked to maybe parents or grandparents or colleagues that are not very much in favor of seeing wind turbines, for example, on the beautiful Austrian mountain chains, right? When I look at them, I see a masterpiece of engineering, like a Breitling watch. But I know that there are a lot of people who disagree with me in that respect. So this is a very, very complicated issue that we need to face. And since February this year, this issue has become even more complicated because of Russia's invasion of the Ukraine. And I'm sure you've all heard about and you have felt rising energy prices and rising prices in particular. So now, among this landscape of challenges and big problems, what we need in the European Union is a plan. And really, we need a good plan in order to make this happen, to make it happen fast, and to make it happen in a sustainable way. And now I would ask Teresa Ponce de Leão, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing this more or less correctly, yes? Yes. To tell us what the plan is. So please give her a warm welcome and enjoy. Thanks.
I'm just going to put this on to not get more than half an hour. So, okay. So thank you to your rector for such a nice introduction. Thank you, Sonja, for so beautifully speaking about the electric energy system. It's also my area of work. Although now with my functions at LNEG, not so deeply. And as Sonja told you, I come from Steiermark, and together with all Sonja, so well presented to us, we have learned about we need a lot of transparency, a lot of trust, a lot of fairness, and also green financing. This is, at Europe, we have now the EU taxonomy, but we do not know yet how to put that in force. And so we have a lot of challenges to tackle. And to complicate a little bit the process, we have from Steiermark, you will know, if you don't know already, we have the ENACT, which puts the climate change and biodiversity in the same plan, and we need to have the climate change together with biodiversity. We also have the initiative for Africa Just and Affordable Energy Transition that is being pushed by the European Commission, and it is very important because we alone at Europe, we cannot cope with this energy transition, and we have to look at the other continents which are not so wealthy as we are, and the empowerment of civil society by creating a civil society platform that was some of the most important results that we heard this week. So, as we all know, this is taken from The Economist. The world is missing the climate targets. Europe is very much committed to these targets, but really we need to have some realism because we are missing it. And the Secretary General of United Nations Climate Change Executive Secretary opened COP27 by telling or advising, reminding us that this is the era for implementation. The outcomes from formal and informal process begin to come together to drive greater climate progress. And that's what you need. We need accountability so that that progress takes place. And also, he reminded us about 3 critical lines of action that we need. And again, there's the word implementation, the putting the negotiations and the targets into concrete actions, cement progress on critical work streams like mitigation, adaptation, finance, and loss and damage, and enhancing delivery with the principles of transparency and accountability. This is a word I like very much, accountability. I'm electrical engineering, but I'm also a little bit economist because I made post-graduations on this area, and this really fascinates me, and it's the way to go through. So, as you know, in the European position and in COP26, we already saw this target, $100 million per year to support developing countries. We didn't see that this being put into practice only in small actions, but this goal is now expected to be met in 2023, in the end of 2023, and there is still so far no commitment on loss and damage, and this is crucial for developing countries. Let's start from the beginning. We have at the European Commission, I'm talking about Europe because Europe is the most advanced continent regarding climate change. And Europe is really being an example to the rest of the world. And we started with this new commission with Mrs. Ursula von der Leyen by launching out the European Green Deal. And in fact, this is the big backbone of everything we need to do. And this European Green Deal, as you know, in first place puts forward measures to reduce demand, energy efficiency. In second place, it tells the countries that they need to electrify, but to electrify not at any price, but to electrify with renewables. And when this electrification is not enough, because we need flexibility in the system, we need to cope, we need to put our mobile phone with enough energy when there is no sun or no wind. And we needed to electrify difficult industrial areas like cement or steel. And so in that case, we need renewable gases. And that's why we speak so much about hydrogen, but also other gases. And to put all these things together, because the problem is very complex, we have big data and we have the digital transition. We have digitalization methods to put all these systems working together and optimizing them in order to get to climate change. We really, this is very nice, but we saw the very big energy shock of the green area before the war, and this was because the countries didn't make enough investments on renewables, and because of geopolitical issues, even before the war, and because we didn't take care adequately of our energy regulation system. It is dangerous to speak about this when I have experts on this area, but really if you compare the regulation system, European regulation system, and the United States regulation system, the United States regulation system, it's based on Fred Schwab methodology. It's the father of the marginal system. And really, it's the best way to give incentives to the best investments. In Europe, we have the zonal system, which perverts a little bit the regulation, and maybe we need to revise the regulation. It's brought up by the Commission, but we have to be careful because we cannot create imbalances, and regulation is something, and marginal prices are something that we cannot exchange just partially or change just partially. So this all put our Europe adrift over energy, and this was even more difficult when the war started, because Europe was not paying enough attention, didn't take care that the reserves, gas reserves, were going down. So Russia was, with intention, putting down reserves of gas, and we were too much dependent on Russia. Why? Maybe because Europe thought this was the best way to maintain peace and good collaboration, but in fact, we are not talking with a trustable partner, and Russia is not trustable at all. More recently, the International Energy Agency, and now after the war, launched the World Energy Outlook, which has a very nice resume in the end and easy to read, and talked about 4 main topics: markets, policy, trade, and impacts, economic impacts. And regarding energy markets, we saw that due to the war, high and volatile energy prices are hurting our populations, are hurting households and businesses. And this led to achieving a choice of the fuels that we need to maintain our economy. Regarding energy policy, we saw a lot of short-term responses that now were focused, and I will talk about this later, preferably on security of supply, which has been negligent because, as we saw, we didn't take care to the actions of Russia. And so new policies had to be implemented. And as I told before, this created distortion in the market, but these policies, short-term measures, are needed so that we can save our economy and the less wealthy people. So the energy trade also suffered a lot of changes because Europe started looking at new sources of energy, mainly liquefied natural gas, to cope with the limitations from Russia, and so that worldwide trade suffered a change. And regarding economic impacts, we are suffering from an inflation pressure like we didn't see for decades. Some more pressure in one countries than in others, but really where I come, the inflation is about 15%. So really, puts a lot of pressure in populations. So we are facing the problem of a global recession. So as you saw, we can see from here, the energy mix changed a lot. So now we have the Russian gas has been reducing, either because the Russian did use the gas as a war weapon, either because Europe doesn't want Russian gas. But also we saw that the emissions were rising after the pandemic, so because economy flourished again. But now, with all this equation, with all these conditions, we are facing a period where governments are pushing really for new investments on renewables. And the International Energy Agency expects that the emissions after 2022 are going to fall again. And what is our role, our science role? At COP26, we all saw from written in Glasgow Climate Pact that all decisions should be science-based. And what are we doing for that? Are we really helping politicians to have good decisions? And the politicians, do they want us to help them to take good decisions? So let's see what is the situation right now. We still have a great dependence on fossil fuels. So 70% dependence of fossil fuels. We are seeing that our internal generation and energy production is falling down. And this is because the Nordic area has reduced the production of oil. This is because in Netherlands we are systematically reducing the natural gas production because we have pressures from population, and demand is increasing. So really we still are very much dependent from imports from other regions. We have this geopolitical issue. We had 45% dependency from Russia gas, and we really need to change this import, because we don't have, either because Russia doesn't want or because we do not want. So the EU supply dependency increased in this period. So new measures urge. We saw the spike of prices, like you see here, and in some countries they go up 5-6 times what they were before. In my country, if you paid attention, the Iberian Peninsula kept the prices for energy production, also had some measures regarding to the windfall profits, but this is not solved. now the European Commission wants to buy, using the example from the pandemic, wants to buy gas globally, but this means that all the countries must be in one voice, so must be in accordance. And looking at general pre-war market consideration, in demand, we had a historical surge energy demand due to the strong post-COVID economic rebound. We had a colder than expected autumn in Europe, and we had not very much wind. Fortunately, in southern countries, we had a lot of sun. So this put pressures on demand, and regarding supply, we have low levels of gas storage in major economies because now we have a new law, new regulation for gas storage, but we didn't have at all. In fact, the gas system is the poor relative of the energy system. Regulation is not so mature as the electric system regulation. We have lower supply capacity due to outage of unplanned maintenance, nuclear plants in France, for instance, and we have underinvestment over last years in gas infrastructures due to the increasing investment uncertainty. People, so companies, didn't have certainty to make those investments, and certainty, reliability, credible policies are very important for investors. They do not invest if they do not know how the policies are going to work afterwards. And we had the problem in Netherlands, the gas field of Groningen. This picture shows you how the change of supply, how it happened. Now we have a lot of imports coming from other areas than we used before, and we have taking the flux of gas from Russia reduction, and this led to the spiking of the price of gases. Then, why are exported retail electricity prices affected by gas prices? Because of the way the EU electricity market is built up. So we, first of all, we have a lot of taxes in our energy bill. So only 0.5% is for energy. The rest is for network costs, taxes and fees. And in spite of varied power mixes across Europe, electricity prices are dependent of the overall EU electricity generation mix, which depends a lot on conventional thermal power plants. And conventional thermal power plants work with gas. And if gas goes up, so the production price from these conventional power plants also goes up. And because we have this marginal pricing method, which is good, which is the way that investors can recover their investment, but it also puts pressures, like you see here. So it's pretty much related to the price is formed by the last power plant that enters the market to answer the demand. So if the last power plant is a thermal power plant, the price is very high. So and this is market, how it works. It's okay. It should be like that, but it's not good for the situation we are living. So this creates a lot of social problems and a lot of discontentment. and has a lot of economic consequences, national stability, European Union stability, companies are suffering, households are getting in default on payment. But on the other hand, we have super profits, because if you look at the picture I showed, if the price that is settled in the market is the highest, the renewable power plants are receiving that price. So they are having windfall profits. And traders and intermediators, in the end, are facing, some of them, bankruptcy. In my opinion, we didn't need traders at all, but this is my opinion. Because traders are another level in the system which has to be paid, so a surplus cost. But traders are also suffering from this situation. So I told already that now Europe is purchasing power as a whole, changing the benchmark index, the TTF, the Dutch TTF, revising the marginal pricing method. Only, in my opinion, I don't know what's going to be in the future, to solve this short-term situation, and shaving demand curve, avoiding peak demand related to gas usage. 5 minutes, okay. So I have to rush. So let's see. One very important topic, it's the energy trilemma that changed. And you can see that in Europe, the most important point in the trilemma was the competitiveness, which changed the security of supply. On account of all this happened. And now we have REPower Europe goals, and what the commitment is to raise 45% renewables, to create a strategy for biomethane that never existed before, to implement 600 gigawatts of solar PV, 480 gigawatts for wind, 10 megatons of renewable hydrogen, and 10 times larger electrolyzer manufacturing. We have the joint gas and hydrogen purchases, and the new market for liquefied natural gas, and for 15% these are the commitments, reduction in gas demand and saving industry. But we need for this smart investment. And let's see what I'm putting. I'm sticking on this figure because I don't have time for much more. What we should do as researchers. We have this outer cycle where we have knowledge generation and knowledge implementation, monitoring, identifying new gaps, and problem formulation. But we have to go to the inner cycle. We have to accelerate knowledge implementation, and by monitoring and helping the countries to close implementation gaps with the existing knowledge. We developed a lot of knowledge. We have accumulated knowledge. Now it's a time that we also help the transition by putting forward into acts and into implementation the knowledge that we already have. It's not usual on researchers, but it's important so that policymakers and governments really rely on our scientific results. And as I do not have a lot of time, I will give you an example that's happening now in Portugal. To accelerate, we need, for instance, to give information to governments to accelerate licensing and permitting. And in Portugal, my institute is now implementing the Atlas for Hydrogen, which is built up on different levels of knowledge, the resources, wind and solar resources, natural resources, to build up, to feed the electrolyzers, the networks, the electric network system, the gas network system, the orography of the land, the constraints and the restrictions of the land, and putting all this together, we are able to identify areas where permitting can be accelerated and can be facilitated. And we are doing this also for solar, so putting together not only this hydrogen atlas we built, but putting together with the solar atlas, the wind atlas, and the biomethane atlas, and with these all sources of information, deciding for areas that where the projects can have green way to go, a fast track to be for the investment to be faster. So this green way or this fast track, put this way, helps the investors to understand that there is a stability on regulation. We also need, with these tools, we need to implement new rules for the implementation, but the investors can rely, have tools to rely on the stability of the legal framework and accelerate the investment. So I leave you with here with a lot of areas where research has to be conducted, namely for, let me just stick on the last slide, which, for instance, for energy storage recommendations, we have to offer our governments tools so that the energy storage is an integral part of the EU, and it has to be tackled like this, so that we have electric market rules that where storage is paid like an ancillary system, to develop conditions for long-term perspectives for investments, so that this creates confidence on the investments, and to scale up storage solutions that are not yet developed, like based on concentrated solar plants, based on geological storage, and so on, that which we have knowledge to collaborate on that. And also in natural gas, and this is my last slide, we have to create, there's a lot of research and innovation needed to develop the hydrogen strategy, and we have the knowledge to cooperate in new infrastructures for hydrogen transport, for instance, and hydrogen safety, targeting renewable fuels and gases, also others than hydrogen. For instance, we have a problem, we need to decarbonize agriculture, and we might use the waste, agriculture waste, for instance, to produce biomethane that is easily injected in the natural gas grid. Also, we can have win-win situations that the use of wastewater and urban waste residues to build up, to produce biomethane, biogases, but mainly biomethane, also to inject in the network, and we solve the waste problem we solve the water problem, and we contribute to the energy mix and to development of and to contribute to the decarbonization we need, and also to biodiversity, because when we are taking care of our waste, we are also reducing the pressure on biodiversity. And these are some examples, but other are left there. You can use the presentation as you want, and thank you again for having me here.
Thank you very much, Teresa, for your really inspiring talk. I'm completely psyched. So let me just give a very, very quick recap of what you said, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong. I will start by saying that you said we're missing the climate target, it's a fact, and that this is the time for implementation. So this is the time to stop talking and start doing, which I like very much. And you presented 3 different approaches, talked about reducing demand overall, increasing efficiency, electrification, and hydrogen and bioenergy. And that big data, digitalization, and optimization were one of the main core tools that you could use to solve this. And one of the things that I particularly enjoyed is that you said that also the World Energy Outlook said the important topics to look at are energy markets, energy policy, energy trade, energy economics. We need to look at regulations and how markets are designed so that they actually make sense in the future. And that scientists and politicians need to talk to each other, which is very good. Yes, I agree that we should talk to each other and listen to each other to see whether we can actually come up with creating business opportunities for storage, which was one of the things that you mentioned. Yeah. And as a matter of fact, in Austria, we really like very much to have all kinds of strategies. So we do have a hydrogen strategy, and we have a renewable strategy, even a law, but we don't have a storage strategy yet. So I will forward your comments to the local authorities. And the last thing that I'm sticking with, and then maybe we can ask one question in the audience, is accelerate knowledge implementation. So getting in action now. So you have to get in action now. We have time for one quick question from the audience. If you have this like burning question that you can't hold in any longer. I know you're shy. I am used to this in this lecture hall that usually people don't like to talk, but if you don't have a question right now. Yes? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Wolfgang Richter, TU Graz Institute for Hydraulic Engineering. I have one question. How about the strategy of supergrids in Europe, since we know we need to have expansion of the power grid and to trade and exchange power?
You are talking about the European backbone and the interconnection between countries, the gas grid and the electric grid. We have some politician issues, but I think now, finally, we have France and the Iberian Peninsula putting into a common framework, and we should expect environmental and social impacts on this. I think it's foreseen submarine electric cable based on HVDC, and this would be really a very good solution. And we have already mature knowledge on HVDC, but this takes time. And before we have this European grid connected, we cannot wait, so we have to accelerate all these measures together. One is not better than the other. Of course, we should not negotiate storage, because storage is key. Hydrogen helps because hydrogen, it's a molecular, so we can store in the pipelines, we can store underground, we can store in reservoirs, not so adequate, but we have to put forward all these measures, and we have to, each project of this has to be evaluated and monitored according to the whole value chain, using circular economy tools, so that at least we are following the most adequate plan. Of course, we do not have all the certainties, and this is why we should monitorize, and monitorize is to compensate what is not so well done and go backwards. This is how it works. But we have to look at the whole value chain and implement actions as long as we have the ways to do. To construct new lines, for instance, takes time. To construct new power plants, for instance, nuclear, takes time. Maybe it's also a solution. But that's, then the solutions are locally based. Each region has its own conditions, particular conditions, so it should be overall planned, but with the local decisions most appropriate or most adequate for that framework of the region.
Okay, so we don't have time for more questions now, but we do have a lot of time for questions later, so write them down, and then in the panel discussion we will ask Teresa all of the remaining questions. So let's thank her again. Thank you very much for the great talk. And judging out of experience, I know that when Martin Graf starts talking, you're in for a treat. So without further ado, please go ahead and dazzle us with your insights.
So thanks a lot for invitation. Thanks to you for the nice introduction at the beginning. And first of all, I have to say that I do not absolutely agree with Teresa. Because as a former head of a regulatory authority, I have to focus on different issues as a regulator, as a former regulator. And as a CFO of an energy company, we have to transform the issues and the targets from the international scale to aims and goals of companies. We have to transform the strategies to the goals of our company, of our employees, of the capital market, which is necessary to also supply us with enough money to invest, and also to our supply chains, because if we do not have the material to invest, also new investments are not going to the grid. So I think Teresa and myself, we're fully in line that we focus on a sustainable, decarbonized, renewable energy system in future. And I think that has to be our common goal. Everybody of us has to share this with us, I think. But as a representative of an energy company, we also have to focus on our short-time issues. So now, for the next winter time, we have to secure the gas and the electricity supply. That's our main issue. And as you mentioned, there was the huge goal that we have to increase our storage capacities to nearly 80–90% in Austria and in whole Europe. And that was done with a huge amount of money. We bought natural gas with a price of more than 200 euros per megawatt hour. And so we not only have to issue the focus on security of the supply, also Karl-Heinz will also focus on the affordability of this topic if we have to buy such a huge, or to pay such huge prices for gas to secure the supply in winter times. But we have to also look into the future. And if we look to the future, we have to speed up our investments in renewables, in grid facilities, in decarbonized district heating systems, and I think that's the positive message for today. I have a short overview and agenda for today, and I will focus on several topics which Teresa mentioned with the REPowerEU targets. If we look on the Energie Styria as a vertically integrated utility, we have a huge change in the next decades. We have to invest not approximately 200 million euros per year. We are increasing these investments to 300 millions. And if we also discuss windfall profits, you see the windfall profit in our EBIT in the last year. It's declined to 30 million euros. So I think we have to focus on different issues very in detail. And I think if we want to increase our investments to 300 millions, we also have to deal with the consequences, because one of the main consequences in investing in the grid facilities is also an increasing grid tariff, which we discuss with the Chamber of Labor afterwards. So I think we have to balance this energy triangle very focused. And I think as Energie Steiermark, we are dealing with this very deeply in these cases. That's our main picture of our strategy. And I want to focus here on the main picture. We are fully in line with the SDG goals of the United Nations, and so we as one of very few energy companies in Austria, we have a clear roadmap to net zero emissions to 2040. What this means for us, I will show you on the next slides. But if we want to achieve this goal, we have to invest huge amounts in the next years and decades. The first picture shows you green renewable energy sources. We are focusing on wind, hydropower, and PV. And we will invest in the next decade 1 billion euro. So I think we have to deal with this huge amounts as company. Yeah? And we have approximately 2 billion euros turnover per year. So it's very, very huge, that amount. We have to finance that. And if we have to finance that, we have to have a certainty about the development of the energy markets in Europe. We also have to focus on the security of this framework for the next decade. It's not possible to change the legal and regulatory framework every year, because if we do that, we will have an uncertainty in the capital markets and nobody will invest in our companies. And we have to have the clear focus on a decarbonized energy power system in the next decades. If we want to increase our renewables in our grid facilities, we need to intensively invest also in grids. More than 1.5 billion euros we have in our budgets for the next years. So at the same time, approximately 40% of my employees will be retired. So we have to have the experts, we have to have highly educated colleagues in the future, and we have to have the money and the security of the regulatory system for the next years. In Austria, we are discussing the next regulatory period, starting with the 1st of January 2024 in the next few weeks. We now have a new regulatory framework for the natural gas sector, starting with the 1st of next year. I think it's an adequate framework also for our investments, but we have to have this focus on what is coming, and that is coming in very huge figures. We have, you also have mentioned the sales and trading department. Of course, we only have a few electricity in our own power plants, so we have to have a trading, an international one, on the power exchanges in Europe, and there we have to have a clear framework which we have to develop, because I also share your opinion about the merit order system and the developments there and the framework of liquidity. On this slide, you see a roadmap, and I think you can read it afterwards, but I think the main issue is that 2040, we nearly have zero emissions as an energy utility. And that means a fundamental change in culture, a fundamental change in our investments, a fundamental change in our behavior. And so we are fully in line with the SDG goals, and we also attend an international benchmarking, because the capital market is focusing on ESG goals and SDGs. So I think if we look on the achievements in the future, we also have to bring together closely the capital market and the energy market. We have an international shareholder, a minor shareholder. Its name is Macquarie. It's the world's largest investment investor in infrastructure globally, and so I think we have to experience how to deal with international money, but we also see the necessity of clearness in our roadmaps, in our midterm plans, and our budgets for future. If we focus on the Austrian side, we, as Austrian energy sector, we made different studies how we can decarbonize our electricity sector. And therefore, there is a doubling of the electricity demand by 2040 necessary. So the goals of 2030 to have 100% renewables in our power system have to be increased dramatically to 2040. And therefore, there are some topics necessary. You mentioned the permitting and approval procedures. I think that's one of the pain points of every infrastructure project at the moment. For example, we're planning a wind park in the mountains of Styria. After a few weeks of approval, 9 years in total, we are not able to buy this wind facilities from Siemens, because they will not build it anymore. So we have to get a new approval. So if we have approval times of more than 10 years to getting started on wind park, we will do not meet our goals in 2030, we will not meet our goals in 2040. So we have to speed up dramatically the permitting and approval procedures now, not tomorrow, not in the next weeks, not in the next decade. We now need a new legal framework for speeding up the permitting process. And we are discussing this many years now with the Austrian politicians, and I think one of the most important focuses has to be done there, because we are absolutely in line with renewable goals. We are absolutely committed to invest in renewables. We are absolutely committed in investing in grid facilities, but we have also the need of allowance to make these investments possible. So the other points are also important, but I want to focus on this, because if we do not have the possibility to speed up these procedures for the permits, we are not able to invest €1 in new assets. And I'm very happy about that. This speeding up of this issue is also met by the European Union. And in the last weeks, there was a new proposal for the Council regulation for a framework to accelerate the development of renewable energy. And if you look at this, you see that there are main topics which will meet the aim of getting permits to build new facilities. You see this in one of the most important topics. It's mentioned in the first point, the renewables energy plans presumed to be overriding public interests. In Austria, we're discussing this at the moment. We do not have overriding public interests. So I think that's the necessary issue of the current government, to develop the legal framework and to define this overriding public interest for the energy transition and the energy change. You see the other issues mentioned, because Sonja told me that I have to speed up. And one or two or three last words, yeah? Or four. No. If you look on the right side of the slide, you see that it is possible in Europe. It's not an imagination. It's not in future we have to have faster permits. No, it's possible if there is the willingness of the governments to permit and to make it possible to build up the grid facilities, in this case for the floating LNG terminal in Wilhelmshaven in Germany. And I'm also a supervisory board member of a large transmission system operator in gas in Germany. We see that there are huge differences in the permitting process currently between Austria and Germany, and I think we have to speed up this in Europe, that it's not only possible to build it up in a new facility in Germany, that it should be possible to speed up permits and to invest all over Europe for one topic, to have a secure and renewable and sustainable energy future, and I think we have to start it now. Thanks a lot.
So thanks a lot for this very interesting talk. As expected, if you put an almost Spanish person in charge of the time management, we're doing horribly, but we'll catch up. Is there a burning question for Mr. Graf? Because this was very, very interesting and very provocative. So if there is anybody who has a quick question, then please go ahead. Could you turn on the microphone from Teresa?
I think it's on, no? Not? Okay.
Yes.
So my question is about what is the impact that you see as a utility of the scarcity of raw materials?
So I think we have several topics at the moment to manage. The first is, in the short term, we have to secure supply in winter times. And I think the most important issue is that we now get a legal framework from the European Union, and there are many discussions in the ITRE Council at the moment to focus on what we have to have in the future. If we want to invest in hydrogen in future, it's not possible to have legal unbundling between hydrogen and gas facilities, for example, in the grid facilities, which is discussed at the moment. So I think we have to focus on the experiences of the regulators in the last decades, because the regulators know the development of the markets. They know how to deal with changes in these markets, because I think the merit order system is well developed, and it gave huge positive effects in future and in past to the energy markets all over Europe. But we now have to refocus on the main issue. And the main issue is to speed up the investments in grid facilities, in innovation, and in renewables. And I think that should be the main issue for the next weeks and years.
Okay, so thank you very much again, Martin Graf. And now as our final discussion, we asked Dr. Kettl to give the societal point of view of all of these transformations. Please go ahead.
So, thank you for the invitation. First of all, I think I have to explain a little bit the Chamber of Labor, because we have international audience, and this is quite a unique institution in Austria, so in Europe as a whole. So we are part of the Austrian called Austrian Social Partnership. So it means we have several chambers. So the Chamber of Commerce, the Chamber of Agriculture, the Chamber of Labor, and the Trade Unions Federation. So what is our task within this Austrian Social Partnership? We are speaking for the consumers, the employees, the workers. So in summary, in Austria we have 3 million members. In Styria we have 500,000 members. So what we are doing, we're taking part in the political discussions. We have a lot to say about also net tariffs. So people like Martin is always happy to talk to us. So of course consumer protection is one of our main issues in the daily business, and education and training. And on the European side, we also have an European office in Brussels, which is quite important for us, of course, to see and to bring in the social dimension. In the topic today, the REPowerEU, I gave it the subtitle, not just a technical challenge, because it's always our main task to say that it's not just a technical challenge, because of course REPower Europe gives us quite a good focus. I think many things are on the task, many things we have to do what we did not do in the past. The timeline is quite steep, but at the end, in every technological challenge, in everything what you do, you need the society to accept it and to carry this challenge through, especially in the energy crisis. So, and that's, I think that is the main issue here. Of course, REPowerEU, some things were highlighted already. It is about fastening, it's about rescue regulations, and it's a kind of a rescue regulation, because 1 year ago no one would have talked about it in that sense and in that consequence. And it's about securing our energy supply. So when you look for example, reactivation of coal-fired power plants, 2 years ago no one would talked about reactivating a coal-fired power plant. We have one here in Styria, not far away. The thing was always to get rid of it, and now it's changed within, I would say, in a few months. Or runtime extensions of nuclear power plants. I think no one, especially in Austria, no one likes that. But in this situation, we have to do it. So in the short term, there are not so many options now. and exploring new energy sources, Martin said it already, at really high costs. So securing the gas supply, buying the strategic gas reserve, that costs billions of euros. It's a lot of money just to secure the winter, this winter, the next winter, and let's see how long it really lasts. This is one of a quite difficult question. How many gas we need this winter, and what about refilling for the next winter? So energy efficiency is, of course, the main challenge to tackle this crisis, and the laziness, let's call it, of the past bounces back. When we look in the history, I was at the Energy Agency before, 30 years ago. Most of them were founded, and the head of the Austrian energy agencies said it quite nice, in a nice sentence. So, they exist since 40 years, and 39 years it was not really of interest, and now it's quite hard to say, but more or less we could have done more, of course. And everything what we are not doing, we pay a high price also in the future and the next generations. So saving energy, of course, it's the main issue. The liberalized market enforces now the energy price crisis. So Teresa said it already. It's not talking against the liberalization of energy markets, but also Professor Wogrin said it. We have this kind of issue that is not a common good. It's not the decision to consume or to consume not, like we could do with the spaghettis or the bananas or whatever. So it's quite not a normal good, and putting a normal market model over energy does not work like for other goods, and that's we see now. Of course it gave us a very low price in the last decades. What was also a hindrance in the energy efficiency. It was, honestly to say, too low, and it helped, of course, the renewable energies to enter the market through this list of how do I list the power plants, how to push them in, and of course pushing out the fossil power plants. But now the energy market does not serve the people anymore, and there is, of course, a lot of discussion of economists and experts, but at the end the energy market has to serve the society to deliver stable, secure energy to a reasonable price, whatever the market design will be for the next years. And this, we had the last, I would say, at least a year now, excessive revenues for some companies, maybe not the Energie Steiermark, but there have been companies based on the portfolio they have, the power plants they have, they gained a lot of benefits, a lot of excess revenues because of this market model we have. And these revenues are paid by customers, not only households, it's companies, and all of the society, they get the high bills, they have to pay it, and they pay these excess revenues. So we have to get rid of them somehow, and to get a reasonable price again. What also want to remind a little bit, the renewables, they are in the market now. They have been pushed the last years in the market now, have been heavily subsidized through taxes. So every energy bill included a kind of a tax for renewable energy, the subsidization of renewable energy. So the society, the customers paid for renewable energies, and now we are in an energy crisis. Now they will need stable, affordable, cheap energy from the renewables, and now they don't get it because of a market model that delivers it to the customers. And that's, of course, it's a problem. So taking taxes, and when these kind of taxes through different ways and in excess revenues on some companies. And of course, this is a societal problem. Because especially now, the households and the companies, they should benefit from these renewables. And when we think it a little bit forward, when we push renewables more and more and more, and we have this kind of market model that doesn't deliver the advantages of renewable energies, which is and it's always emphasized by everybody. The advantage is no operational costs, just investment costs. Then it has to deliver also this price stability to the society. Of course, Martin said it already, and we support it as well. Boosting the renewable energies, of course, it's the thing to do. The market design has to deliver these costs to the end consumers. And what is always an important point for us, there is a potential two-class energy society when we go, or when we rush now in this direction, because we see it in the daily talking to the end consumers. You have the people who can take active part. They can invest in PV. They have property to invest. They can invest in heat pumps, electric vehicles, and we have the people who can not take active part. They rely on someone that they are investing for them. So don't forget about people on rent, people who live low income. They cannot install a PV. They cannot, I would say, optimize them out of taxes and tariffs and so on. So someone has to do the action for them. And this is usually the property owner, of course. So we have to bring also the people who sit on houses or areas, and renewable is that we're talking about areas at the end. They have to invest for them in their sense. And that is not so easy, because simple example, like when you look in the house, someone who owns the house has usually no interest to lower the energy consumption of the house, because he is not paying the bill at the end. So these kind of things we have to overcome, because it's needed to rush and to roll out the renewable energies, especially in urban areas. The energy market fluctuations, it's destabilizing our society. In the first months of this kind of fluctuations, everyone said, okay, maybe it's just a few months and it's go away, but if it's taking too long, we get a lot of problems. I will rush also. What from our side, we think some actions to take. Decoupling the energy market from the gas market, somehow, however. But it has to be done many months ago already. This will decrease the inflation rate, and the inflation rate has a lot of chain effects. We can talk a lot about what a high inflation rate is doing to a society. And it reduces the risk of energy poverty. So last but important point for us, of course, we are now at the beginning of many households coming really into problems. So of course the energy experts saw it a year ago, what is happening on the market. But now it's reaching the retail market heavily. It's reaching the consumers, and when especially many people really can't pay that bill, and someone has to take care, because these high prices we will have at least until 2024, and saying that's a real problem, and to support these households who are affected by energy poverty, and this value is heavily rising. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. While I will ask our other speakers, Martin Graf and Teresa Ponce de Leão, to come to the podium, is there a question for Dr. Kettl? Otherwise, we will take the question in the podium discussion directly. Please go ahead, take a seat. Maybe we stay here? Or, yeah. So we're opening the round for discussion. we have this, with our speakers, a wide spectrum of expertise here. So let's give priority to the people that are actually physically here. Are there any questions for any of the panelists here in the room? Otherwise, we can also allow... Yes? Oh, of course, Lothar Fikat, the one and only.
I would have one. So concerning the need for lower income people somehow to participate in these investments into PV, how about the role of the Energiegemeinschaft now, so-called energy societies? I think if I am part of a lower income strata of society, I could profit from this. So I could give my money not into the owner of my house where I pay the rent, but to somebody who does it, or maybe even an investor company. Thank you.
Yeah. No, the energy communities, which are quite fresh and new, we see quite positive, as long as they are the model, the business model. And in the law, it's regulated that the business model is to not gain any profits out of it. As long as it is community served, I think we support it, but there are of course a lot of legal questions within it. So no one knows how is it to really how someone drops out, the selling of energy between different consumers, taxes and so on. There is a lot of open questions, but in general I would say as long as there's not that someone is gaining profited out of it, based on the others, we support it.
Are there any questions from... Oh, sorry, no questions.
So regarding the energy communities, I think it's really important, and they might bring added value to the market. But as you said, there are still many open questions, and I have at this moment a master student really analyzing the impact of a real energy community that is already working, and trying to identify the benefits for the community, the benefits for the network, and to, in the end, to evaluate all those impacts and take conclusions that we can bring to the policy makers in order to readjust, if needed, the results from the energy communities.
I think it's a very important issue, because if the open questions are met, it's possible to get a huge acceptance of society for renewable projects. And I think it doesn't matter who is investing, if we need, or if we want to meet our goals, we need every kilowatt hour. Every kilowatt hour by PV, every kilowatt hour by energy efficiency. And if it's possible to motivate more people than now to invest also in renewables, it's a positive effect. So I think energy communities will play a role, but the most important role for me in this case is acceptance of investments in renewable power, and I think that we have to focus on.
Thanks very much. Are there any questions from the online community?
Yes, we have a question from Richard Wheeler. So, at the present rate, around when do you think that the growing installed renewable energy base will reach demand? Is it growing much faster than European demand?
I try to answer. I think we will see a decline in energy consumption at all, hopefully, but we will see a huge increase of electricity consumption in future. So if we want to decarbonize, we have to meet our goals in the investments in renewables and in energy efficiency. And if we see that, the demand of energy in total will decline. And hopefully the supply of electricity, of renewables, will increase dramatically in the next years. We're ready to invest, and many, many others in the same situation. So I think the increase of renewables will be much more than the decline of energy consumption at total.
Please go ahead.
Goran Krajic, University of Zagreb. I do not agree with you that we cannot see the benefits of renewables in the market, because when there is a windy night or a sunny day, you can really see the difference in the price on the market. So this is quite evident, and we may say that we didn't build enough renewables to see all the benefits, and the market for me is functioning perfectly with the marginal price. And for the extra profits, we know how to deal with them. We have taxes, which are also perfect to make some policy. So in this case, if you want to make some new markets, you will not get these clear signals what should be invested or when. So with the taxes, extra profits can be cut. So you can take extra profit and give it back to the people that really need, not to those that have 7 apartments, but those that needs them, you know, because with the averaging the price, you will lose these signals. Also, you have signal now for demand response, you have signals for the storage arbitrage, etc. So in my view, if you have a better proposal for the market than demand and supply mechanism or something else, please share it with us.
Those are exactly the kind of provocative comments that
it's okay. Our point is not to get rid of the market. It's not that it didn't function in the past. The thing is, we have now, for example, in Austria, huge hydropower plants producing at, let's say, 20, 30 euros per megawatt hour, and the energy is sold then for 600 euros per megawatt hour. So, and this is our point. So it's not that we are proposing here a exactly detailed, different market design. What we are expecting from the consumer society side, that the market design, however it looks like, should serve the people and should not destroy companies, for example, or households. When they get a price of, for example, 600 euros per megawatt hour, this is not good for our society, it's not good for our economy. I think it's not good for investing in Europe if we have this kind of prices on the long term. And that is our point, and we have this kind of excess revenues for some technologies, for some companies. And to get them back on the tax way, I think it's much more difficult to, and it's better to avoid that they come out from the market directly. So this difference, we have this kind of huge differences, and especially in Austria, where we have a high rate of renewable energies. This is of course on the political agenda.
Yeah, but with the tax, you can.
Can I add this? I think we are talking about short-term measures and transitory measures to compensate distortions from this market that is really not usual. So this is short-term measures. And if you think about the renewable power plants that to develop had feed-in tariffs and now are receiving the soaring prices, I think they should now contribute to society to reduce those pressures. So in Iberian Peninsula it's a specific case, but we capped prices and so that those power plants have not so high profits, and to distribute the income to society.
But with the tax, you can take also this money from these companies, but on the other hand, you can leave this money to the companies, and if they know how to build the power plants and the cheap ones, so if they can invest, they will build it in what you will invest if you have these billions in your account, of course.
So absolutely, I absolutely agree. Yeah, it's better to have the money in our company than there's nobody of the Styrian government here. So it's better to have the money in our company and to increase our possibility to invest, because if we increase our equity ratio, it's easier possible to invest. So I absolutely agree with you, because I think the market system is totally perfect, but we have to deal with this situation at the moment. And one suggestion is that you give taxes to the windfall profits. Of course, it's one possibility. The other possibility we see in the Iberian system, if we support gas for the gas-fired power plants to decline the wholesale prices on the exchange. I think, and that's my opinion, we have no better market system at the moment. And if you look in Austria to the past, we had negotiated energy prices. The guys of the trade union and the guys of the Chamber of Labor discussed with the ministry, and the fact was that Austria had the highest energy prices in Europe. So I think we see that the example of Austria is that politically regulated prices are not the best at the end of the day. So if we now focus on the market system on a merit order basis, we have to see the differences of the system in future to now. And there will be one huge difference. We will have more renewables with marginal costs in the system. And we will see a higher volatility of the prices because of the weather conditions. And we will see an oversupply in summer times and an undersupply in winter, because we will have oversupply with PV, wind and hydropower in summer, so that we have to bring the summer energy, the sun energy from the summer to the winter, so that the H2 topics, the storage facilities, are one of the main issues to transfer the summer energy to the winter times. And in winter times we had the necessity to import, as Austria. We will import nuclear power from other states, so we are a nuclear-free country, of course. We only import that. Yeah? And the second topic will be that we have to have gas-fired power plants, maybe with biogas or with hydrogen in future, but we have to meet these issues of security supply in winter. So I absolutely agree, the merit order system and the market system are well developed. I think there is the necessity of several changes at the moment, not only for short term, also for the longer term perspective. And we have to meet the topic of more volatility in this energy system, because the volatility will bring us to price increases and then falls in future. And I think that we have to mention if we discuss about the energy market. I think that's one of the issues covered by the European Union, and also Austria is discussing this market system at the moment in government. So I think, how should I say that? I would deal with a further development than with another system like the merit order system and the current energy market system.
Yeah.
Wolfgang Richter, Institute for Hydraulic Engineering. Thank you very much for the fruitful discussion and the insightful presentations today. I'm following this Repower Europe issue since a long time, also with my work here at the university. I think, as giving a remark, the most important thing and goal should be to have energy sovereignty of Europe. We must produce all our energy by ourselves, by 100% renewables. I'm sure this is possible, and we have the potential of wind, solar, and hydropower. So this is coming from my profession. And we see a huge rollout of hydropower plants in Austria, especially pump storage power plants for storage and balancing powers in the gigawatt scale. And also what I wanted to mention, I might disagree with a popular opinion about the higher energy production in the summer in the future, because I made, if you see the data in Europe on the production of wind and solar monthly production over the years, there is a great shift, a seasonal shift between the peak of sun production in the summer and the peak production of wind in the winter. So this is actually a great news. So we have overproduction in Austria and Switzerland, not due to sun in summer, but of runoff of hydropower plants. But as I see the data in Europe, we have a quite good balance. So we do not need that much of storage. We need to make research in the amount, I talk a lot, sorry. Research in how much, but I see positive sides that we do not need that much storage. We have the hydropower, we have hydropower in Norway, huge storage capacity. I agree with, and I'm thankful you mentioned the HVDC cables. I do agree that we need this all around Europe. Subsea cables are connecting Norway, and yes, so I now need a question.
We will also take the comment, actually.
Okay,
so if I can take what you just said, then your statement is we don't need that much storage because in Europe we have a lot of renewable potential, and you also mentioned transmission. And transmission expansion, being from the Iberian Peninsula, you know, France, Spain, the transmission capacity, let's say it's rather limited, and I think we can say something similar about Germany and Austria. So where do you think are the bottlenecks? Do you, first of all, agree with the statement? And where do you think, I mean, the plan is we would need more transmission. But is it going to happen? Because this is also a very political issue that in the past has not been too successful, I have to say.
I may start. It's a $1 million question. I think that the willingness now and Europe is learning from the past mistakes. So we hope that really lands. I don't agree with you that we do not need storage. We need storage because hydropower plant will not solve everything. You know, in Portugal and in Spain, we could not produce energy from either power plant because the levels of water were so low that we had to stop. So we need storage. But I agree with you that the energy mix, when we have the 10 gigawatts of wind offshore power plants, they will really complement the energy mix. But we still need storage so that we have security of supply, because with the climate change that we do not know beforehand now, we may have problems, and without storage, the system will not work, and the economy will not have enough energy.
Maybe we can quickly pass this on to Martin Graf, since we're talking about network expansion here. We're talking about decentralizing a lot of the renewable power generation. So there will be a lot of investments in the low and medium voltage network necessary. How can a utility company or deal with prioritizing all of the millions requests for network reinforcements that must be coming your way? And how do you manage the chicken and egg problem of what comes first, the grid or the generation capacity?
Yes, thanks for this really easy question.
Yes. Since we still have 5 minutes, I thought that.
Oh, thanks. I need 4 minutes for defining the question and 1 minute to find an answer. No, I think at the moment we have a system of first come, first serve, and that's not the best. But there is no alternative at the moment. We have developed a master plan for our grid expansions and grid investments for the next decade. And I think our aim is to get as much renewable power in our grids. If there is the one PV plant on your house and you only can...
Not yet, but you will get the request in the next couple of days. Probably.
Okay, thanks a lot. And you only have the possibility to produce power for 4 kilowatt hours or for 5 kilowatt hours. We have to find a way to deal with in the next years. But in 2022, we installed more PV plants than in the last 2 years together. So I think you see this huge...
Maybe also due to the merit order, right? And the energy prices that
No,
we're
because
seeing.
of subsidies by the government,
Okay.
I guess. I think we have to meet this issue. And there's a huge difference to former times. Because if we build huge power plants on the Danube River, or gas-fired power plants, or also huge wind parks, the timetable of permits and construction to grid facilities are very similar. And that's the huge difference to PV plants. We can build up megawatt-hour PV plants in a short time than to develop the grid facilities there. So we have to focus and to prioritize where it's possible to invest, to get the PV plants in our grids, and afterwards to develop and to scale up our grid in future. So it's not an easy question. We're working with that. And we're increasing our investments from approximately 100 million to more than 150 million per year. And I think that's a very huge amount for our company. And this money has to be built in, or has to be invested in assets. We have to find the companies who built, and we have to meet the supply chain issues, and we have to have the experts that we can also invest in this topic. So a huge topic for the next years, I guess. And there will for this question, there will be no easy answer, I guess.
Yeah, we have another online question. Yes.
Yes, from Maria. What are the trade-offs associated with building up hydrogen economy in the EU?
Also a very easy question that for sure can be answered in 2 minutes.
Could you repeat the question?
Yes. What are the trade-offs associated with building up hydrogen economy in the EU?
The trade-offs of building a hydrogen economy in the European Union.
So, not an easy question as well. I cannot answer directly to which trade-offs. What I can tell you is that, like we saw in the solar power plants, the hydrogen is expected by different studies to reduce dramatically the prices, so the investments will be possible. But like we saw in renewable power plants, we need to start by some investments that are supported by governments so that they are launched. So the trade-offs I cannot measure right now, but I think the same that happened to the PV market will happen with the hydrogen market. And hydrogen is needed so that we can have security of supply, we can have storage, again, as I said before.
So maybe I can ask a question to Dr. Kettl in between. You mentioned energy poverty. So we bashed a lot on the merit order today and whether it's good and we have the right price signals or whether it's really driving people into energy poverty. What is your personal opinion on the measures that have been taken, for example, to handle these issues? If you all live in Austria here, then you have probably received a check from the government to support you for your electricity bill. What do you think of this measure? Could you come up with a better one?
A better one. That's tricky. No, it's really difficult because the problem is everyone is affected quite different. Mm-hmm. So we have until now. In the next few weeks it will change, but we have a real big part of the people who have they have an increase in the energy bill, but not as drastic as some others. So the range is until now it was 15 cents energy price, but the other side were many people who had 90 cents. So that was the bandwidth and the range. So the problem is that many people came to us and say, I don't understand the world, how can that be? 90 cents for electricity and 25 cents for gas and monthly to pay 1,500 for gas and electricity, which is just, how should it work? And many people who didn't get the problem, they heard about it, but they have the increase of energy bills for 10 to 20%. And then and in the countries it is also quite different. So we have the Iberic model, which worked well for Spain and Portugal to cap the gas power plants, to lower the energy price. Worked well because of the not existent interconnections to France, or not too much, which was not a model for Central Europe. And we have countries like Poland, for example, who have a lot of coal power, where quite a different situation than in Austria, where we have a lot of renewables. And in Austria is, of course, the discussion a different one than in another country, where people came and say we have 80% renewables and we have a price which is dramatically. Mm-hmm. So and that's the issue. And then you should compensate people to deal with this issue. And I personally would have not done it that way, like they did with now decreasing the electricity price for everybody, independent if he needs it or not, and what the yearly consumption is. Mm-hmm. But this is the problem when fast measures are taken, that not everyone is asked if there would be maybe a better model.
We have one more final question, and then I would ask the people in the room to ask their questions outside with the food.
Thomas Polster, student of TU Graz. in this lecture we have heard a lot like why we should make a cut of the excess profits. But so far it was not clear for me what is the counter argument against it. Why shouldn't the state cut the excess profits?
I can answer for that. You can. No, I think it's an investment case because the companies need to have certainty about the economical framework in a country, and I think that's a very soft factor, but it's a very important one. If you have several different developments in a short time, and you do not know how the legal framework is in a country, investors will not invest in this country in assets. And I think that's the most important issue in this discussion. And you mentioned one very important topic, that it's also possible not to give the dividends to the shareholders. You also can give the money to the company, yeah, and increase the equity ratio for further investments in renewables. And I think that would be a very focused discussion for the next years, because if energy companies like Energie Steiermark will increase the development of their investments in this dramatical case, we also will need equity from our shareholders in future. And if there is a shareholder, it's a public one, most public budgets, how should I say, very deep, because there is no money inside. So if we want to enable energy companies in future to meet the investment goals, we have to develop also the equity ratio. And that's, for me, the most important case, that the windfall profits should, for a part or for a share of, be in the company on our balance sheets to enable the development of our investments in future.
Just one.
Okay, very quick.
No, just, I have to clearly mention, it's not about taking these companies, their profit, what they gain more or less by coincidence. They are quite affected differently. We have, for example, one big company in Austria. They have all the Danube power plants in their portfolio. They are now on the lucky side. It's not to take them all the money that they cannot invest. That's not the point. It's to keep it on a healthy level. Of course, they should invest, but as you said already, we have other issues why they cannot invest that fast as they want. It's the issues on the legal side, it's the workforce, it's the materials, but in the last years it was not only the money. So we have a lot of other issues to how to boost it, and of course. To say it again, it's not about to cut them all the way. But that was never the discussion.
Okay, so
So
maybe
two final words.
okay.
It's I agree with you. Companies need a stable framework, and they need to know how they can predict the future. But we are in a transitory phase, so I think transitory measures could be taken, for instance, to oblige companies to invest in new renewable power plants. Okay.
Yeah. So to close up this discussion, before I pass over to Brigitte Hassevent, I would just ask you to give me one sentence of a takeaway of regulatory, economic, societal, and company point of view of what are you going to do personally to bring about this change that we look for in society, in our energy systems. And I limit you to one or two, at most 2 sentences. All of you, yes.
Personally me, but in my...
You can pick.
Many things I would say I will keep on doing, like saving energy where it's possible. So driving by bike, like every day since many years. Of course, one
sentence.
To support PV, also personally.
Riding a bike and supporting PV. We take it. Martin Graf.
So today the electrician at my home installed an additional PV plant, 6.5 kilowatt peak, and then a storage facility with 13.8 kilowatt hours. So investing in my own house and in renewables.
Awesome.
So,
Teresa.
The mixed energy is needed, so we have to look at system in an integrated and accountable way. That's the way to move forward.
So we thank our speakers again, and I pass the word to Brigitte Hasseven. Thank you very much for being here.
Okay. Well, thanks everyone for attending this wonderful session tonight. Well, thanks very much to our speakers. We have some gifts prepared for our speakers, and so we will take also a final photo. And can I switch to the slide, please, the last one, which reminds you that this is a series of lectures, and we would like to welcome you again in April, on the 27th of April. This will be about a very different topic, the new European Bauhaus. And the chair of that session is going to be Urs Hirschberg, who is here with us tonight. And well, so give a round of applause to our wonderful speakers. Thank you. So now it's a round of gifts, because I think I say goodbye to our online audience, and I think we have one more slide. We are inviting you to a reception outside of this lecture hall, which is sponsored by Energie Steiermark. Thanks very much to Energie Steiermark for this. Yeah.